But I had to talk to these people to try to buy weed, right? And I'll tell you an example why it wasn't necessarily good to be too nice. So we're walking by, I'm like, hey, do you or somebody says you want to buy some smoke as we walk by, and we're like, yeah, you know. And then they're like sitting on a beach towel, like in People's Park, and it's this girl and this guy, like these two young white dudes, a white dude in his 20s and a girl in her 20s. And then I'm like, yeah, and I just need some weed. We like, oh, you guys want this or that? And I'm like, no, no, no. We just, or Michael wasn't even there. It's just like, yeah, just some weed is good. Then just $10 worth or $20 worth. And then so they give me a little bag of weed, and then I put it in my pocket. And I'm all like happy. I'm like, finally got weed, you know. And I sit there for a minute just to be polite. And I remember there was like a skinny like uh dark Asian homeless guy, and he was dressed in like just short shorts and a tank top, and he was in front of me, and some guy was sitting next to him, and then the girl that was selling me the weed was like yelled out like, hey, you finally got a friend. And I guess I remember this because I started to get sick because she sold me the weed, right? And then I'm like, she's like, you need a pipe? And I was like, yeah, I guess I could smoke a bowl. She's like, okay, smoke a bowl with us. And then so I take out a little bit of the bud and I break it up. And then she hands me this little metal pipe to use. And then I put it in there. And then I tell her like, yeah, I don't do weed or anything. Or I only smoke weed and stuff. And then we start smoking out of the pipe and then pass it around. And then the guy looks at the girl and he's like, hey, was that the same pipe that you were using? And then she's like, oh shit. And I was like, what? And then they're like, nothing, nothing. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I was like, what the fuck? And then as we're sitting there, I hadn't smoked weed in like a few days or a week even, because this was like right when we got to Berkeley. And we had just found the Berkeley Public Library. And Michael was actually waiting for me at the Berkeley Public Library while I was going to go to People's Park to try to score weed. So I'm at People's Park and we start smoking the weed. And then like I just start like getting too high, like paranoid and like what's going on, what's happening, you know? And then like they say that like, hey, weren't you smoking something something in that? Like a word that I wasn't familiar with. And then she's like, oh shit. And she's like, you shouldn't empty that out. You shouldn't use that. And then she's like, here, use a can, make a pipe, you know. And I was like, oh well, I gotta get going anyways, you know. Just keep it, you know. And then so I get up and that's when she was like, hey, you found a friend. And I was just like having like a panic attack straight up. And then I walked the short distance from People's Park to the Berkeley Public Library where Allen Ginsberg wrote the poem Howl. But I walked back to the Berkeley Public Library where on this day in the summer of 2011, my brother was waiting for me. And he's like, did you get the stuff? And I was like, yeah, but I think I smoked something bad because I used the pipe. He's like, you stupid, you know? And then we're just sitting there and quiet in the library, like using my laptop, using the internet. And then all of a sudden, and I'm just sitting there and like I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm safe in the air conditioned library. I'll just wait until I calm down from all this stuff. But then all of a sudden we're at the bottom floor where the public computers are. All of a sudden I just start getting nauseous as fuck. And I'm like, oh my God, whatever was in that pipe, it just made me sick as fuck. It wasn't weed, obviously. And I'm about to just explode chunks. And then I'm like I could tell Michael, hold my shit, you know, watch my bag. And then I try to go to the first bathroom, but it's locked. And then they have like a stairwell in the Berkeley bathroom. And like, and I'm like literally about to throw up everywhere. And then I go up to the second floor, that bathroom locked. I go up to the third floor, and I'm about to just throw chunks everywhere. And it's on a Saturday morning, like bright, and the library is packed, one of the busiest libraries I've ever seen. And then I go up to the next floor, and there's like a cardboard cutout of Elvis Presley for some reason. And I was about to just throw up right on Elvis's face. And then I'm like, fuck, and I'm looking for the next floor. And I run up the next floor, then there's a bunch of kids like having story time. I'm like about to traumatize the fuck out of them, like vomiting all on their faces. You know, and then I'm like, fuck. And then finally, oh, I can't say anything because I'm so in my head, I'm like, fuck. Finally, I go up to the top floor, and that's where the open bathrooms are. I open the door, there's some like homeless guy shaving. And then I open the bathroom door, just